Alright, what is going on, guys? MeeZoid here. Welcome back to another video on my channel, guys. Today we are talking about the big factions update that we are releasing to Minecadia tomorrow, Friday at 5 p.m. EST. So guys, if you do plan on playing, be sure to join my IP, MeeZoid.minecadia.com, and run/redeem MeeZoid on Start of the World for some free donated rewards. But yeah, guys, we have a lot of things to talk about today. Lots of updates that hopefully you guys will like. So leave a like down below. Let's get into it. First things first, the map information. We're going to be doing 15-man factions with 30 roster slots. No allies, no truces, a 4-week long map with 1 week of grace period, and then the worlds are overworld, tundra, desert, plains, and nether. To get into the first feature of the update, we are introducing a new concept to Start of the World on Minecadia, since as you guys know, Start of the Worlds on Minecadia factions have never really been very formulated. There's never really been a process to it. We kind of just open the server, have fly disabled for like 20 minutes, and then enable it, and then that's pretty much it. We just let the factions and the players do what they want. But we are now introducing some sort of boosters, some extra content, and more stuff to do in a formulated process known as Start of the World chapters. So once I explain this, it will sound pretty familiar to the Cobra concept known as phases, but it is a lot different because on Cobra, the phases are meant to be limiting, whereas on here, we're actually meant to be boosting and giving like new content for just like an hour and kind of switch the meta up for the day of Start of the World. So we are making Start of the World a little bit more special, so encouraging more players to log on during it, to be online during it, and to take advantage of the stuff. So the first chapter is called the Prologue, which it takes place from 5 p.m. EST to 6 p.m. EST, or the first hour of the map. So envoy rates will be boosted, fly will be disabled, which is kind of the same, but now we're actually disabling it for the first full hour. Tundra and plains will be disabled though, so those two worlds will open up in the next phase or the next chapter for you guys to try to get corners there in case you missed Start of the World. The event schedule, which is the schedule for like Koths and stuff like that, has been disabled, and then dungeons are also disabled. The next chapter is the minigame chapter, which again is familiar from the Cobra phase, which is just where minigames just constantly activate. It's very fun. You guys can pretty much participate in every single one of these. They'll give increased rewards, I believe, and just one mini game will start, the next one will start, it'll keep on going for a full hour. The next phase is focused around the Warzone bosses. So from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. EST, we will have the Flying Dutchman feature, which is basically when like a bunch of pirates like raid an area of the Warzone and you can kill them for rewards. Basically, those will be constantly activating. So as soon as one of those get defeated, another one will spawn, okay? Then there'll be increased damage against bosses. We'll also increase the maximum amount of bosses allowed on the server at once, and there'll also be double boss rewards. That's only for this hour. Chapter 4 is the dungeon chapter. So this is from 8 p.m. EST to 9 p.m. EST. Pretty much the first dungeon will open, and it'll stay open for the rest of the map, which is Shilling's Cave. Also, when dungeon portals are placed, they will not require keys for this hour. So obviously, only one dungeon can be ran at one time on Minecadia. So that pretty much means as soon as the portal is placed, any player can jump into it, whether they have a key or not, just for this hour. There's also double dungeon rewards, and we will also be enabling a hyper Dead Man's Chest schedule. Which means when Dead Man's Chest spawns and it gets defeated, another one will spawn right away, only for this hour. From 9 p.m. EST to 10 p.m. EST, Chapter 5, the Voyage chapter will take place. Definitely very new having Voyages enabled on Start of the World. So we will enable it for only 1 hour. You pretty much can just play Voyages, have some fun there, have access to the lower loot tables, and then also have a chance to level up your Voyage level a little bit early on in the map. Again, this is mainly just for the fun aspect of it. Like, yeah, you can get rewards, but obviously the better rewards come when you're at a higher level of Voyages, which obviously isn't going to happen in an hour. Then the event chapter will enable, which is from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. EST, and this one's a little bit different, where the hyper event schedule will enable. So that pretty much means a competitive event will start. As soon as it finishes, another one will start right away, and all of these events are going to be more fast-paced. So for example, Koths, instead of a 10-minute timer, it'll be a 3-minute timer. Warp Koth, instead of 10 minutes, it'll be 3 minutes. DTC, instead of 500 health, it'll be 250. Hardpoint, instead of like 200 points to win, it'll be 100 points, and we'll also have 2 more events, which will also be fast-paced. But after this chapter concludes, the event schedule, the regular one, will remain enabled for the rest of the map, which is pretty much when there's an event, I think like every 2 hours or so. And then the final chapter from 11 p.m. EST to 12 a.m. EST is the tournament chapter. Will pretty much just a 1v1 tournament will take place with very OP buffed rewards. The winner of the tournament will get a maxed 10 lore orc, pirate, or fortune set, in addition to like 3 times Start of the World crates. The next biggest update is called Cruise. Well, I mean, you guys don't know about Cruise, but it's pretty much a whole new concept. So previously on Minecadia, you would log in for the first time on the map and you would choose your crew, and every crew would have some benefits, some buffs that you could get. That no longer exists. So when you log on for the first time, you will spawn in a crew area, but it's going to be a crew sorting NPC. We will now be randomly sorting players into crews. Again, let me reiterate that no crew has a special effect anymore. So realistically, there's no difference between any of the crews except the players inside of them, which I'll get into why that's important. So again, when you first log on, you'll right click an NPC when you walk forward to get sorted into your crew. If you are Kraken Plus, you can re-roll your crew. Again, it doesn't really matter too much what crew you're placed into. It's really just about who you get placed with, which is going to be changing every single map. You know, provide some variety. You'll meet some new people every single map because we're going to be introducing crew events. So I'll talk about that in a second, but before then, what's replacing the effects and the abilities and stuff like that is actually the crew skill tree. So similar to the expedition skill tree, all players will now have access to an actual skill tree, which is based on your crew. So again, with the introduction of this update, we were considering having different trees for every single crew, but we were pretty confident that was going to mean that there's going to be a best one and a worst one, which would kind of make issues when getting randomly sorted. So for now, at least for the start of this implementation of the feature, unless we get like suggestions otherwise, we will be having all these skill trees the exact same, except the final upgrade will likely just be a cosmetic difference so that it kind of goes with your crew. So for example, if your crew's color is like yellow, maybe we have like a yellow halo or like a yellow particle effect or like an ability that has a yellow particle. So pretty much everything will be the exact same skill tree wise, other than maybe cosmetically different, because we don't want any crew to be better than the other. We kind of just want it to, you know, take place and the players are the only differences. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the first 4 like crew tree upgrades will be pretty much what the legacy crews were. So like for example, the permanent resistance, that'll be 1, permanent speed 2, permanent saturation, all that sort of stuff will be like the first 4. I don't think we're doing +2 hearts because that's kind of a big deal. Plus we have something replacing that little boost, which I'll go over next. But yeah, I think the first 4 upgrades of the tree will be like the legacy trees pretty much. Since those are some pretty important effects that are needed for god sets, for example, like resistance, you either have resistance or you have plate mail. You either have speed or you have like, you know, I mean, not speed on your boots, you usually have something else, but there's other stuff like that, saturation or implants, all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, moving on, the next thing with crews is crew events. So pretty much we're going to have these crew events that take place every 3 hours that actually have to do with, or I guess they're based on what crew you're in. So there will be these events that take place every 3 hours, like I said, and the winning crew of every event will actually be granted a server-wide booster for 1 hour, and it'll go to the entire crew. So for example, one of the events is called the Crew War, which is pretty much like a crew team FFA. So every crew will spawn in the corner of the map. There's going to be 35 slots per crew, so up to 140 players, and they'll all spawn in a pretty much just a large FFA arena, like a battle royale arena with a shrinking border, and the last crew standing, however many players there are, will win the crew event. All players that join the event in the winning crew will get rewarded with loot bags. The player with the top kills will get like some really good rewards, like champion loot bags with an SOTW crate or something like that. Those will be like the top 3 killers of any crew. And then the entire crew on the server, regardless if you joined the event or not, will be rewarded 1 positive buff for an hour, which is going to be a randomized of the following: the healing buff, the speed buff, the damage buff, or the armor buff. So the healing buff will give all players in the crew +2 hearts for the hour, as well as permanent regen for the hour. Then the speed buff is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be permanent speed 4 during grace period, and then after grace period it'll be speed 5. That's still being discussed. I know it's a little bit like, that's pretty OP, and I know some players are complaining about maybe people just hop on alts. We do have some safeguards to prevent all that sort of stuff, so stay tuned for those. I mean, we're not going to reveal them obviously, so people can't like figure out workarounds, but we do have stuff in place for that, so people can't just abuse the system. Next is the damage buff. That's just going to be 10% outgoing damage plus 10%, and then the armor buff is minus 10% incoming damage. So these buffs will apply to the entire server of the crew that wins the event for 1 hour. The next crew event is Crew Royale, which is kind of similar to the original one, but this one is actually, you're pretty much going to spawn in the air like a battle royale, and then you can go whichever way you want. You go in with no inventory at all. Forgot to mention the last one, the Crew War FFA, is a keep inventory FFA. You don't spawn in with a kit, you bring your own kit, and the best armor, obviously your best inventory, because you will keep it, you won't die and lose it or anything like that. But this battle royale, you come in with nothing. It's going to be like a normal battle royale where you loot items, build a god set, all that sort of stuff. Same concept, except this one does not have crew slots, so any number of players can join from any number of crew. So realistically it could be like 99 vandals and 1 bandit, but obviously that's probably not going to happen. So when the Crew Royale takes place, be sure to join with your crew as fast as you can. But yeah, same concept, last crew standing wins the event. So those that are in the crew that won, that actually joined the event, will get loot bags, top killers will get rewards, and then the entire crew on the server will get that 1 hour benefit, whatever it may be. It'll always be randomized from when the event is won. There will be a sort of crew leaderboards and point system as well. So which crew will win the map? Will it stay consistent every map? Probably not, because it's randomized, but we will see. You guys will get placed with different players every single map. Maybe you want to be with your friend, maybe you want to be with good players. You guys will find out, and you can contribute to actually win the map on a larger global scale of the crews. This was pretty much inspired by how the Harry Potter system works, of having houses that win the school year, getting sorted into your house, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully you guys like the concept, because I think it's pretty cool with the crew events and having a kind of more overarching competition that's not faction versus faction versus faction, but rather crew versus crew versus crew versus crew. The final aspect of crews I need to mention is in the battlefield. The battlefield will actually is revamped to support crew gameplay, so you will be teamed with your crew, not your faction. And if I didn't make it clear, in the crew events, your team is your crew. You are disguised as your crew. Your teammates, like on your faction, you will not be teamed with them. So whatever your crew is, that is who is winning. Okay, moving on from crews, we have two more brand new events to talk about, which is pretty similar to some concepts you may be familiar with. So for example, if you know Capture the Flag, and you also know the Bridges game mode, that's like a 1v1 ladder where you like spawn in your own island, you try to jump in the other person's portal and you get a point. It's kind of similar to that in an aspect. So in our war zone, we're gonna have two little like houses or platforms or quadrants that are going to be filled with some points of interest. So one of the quadrants will have like a flag or an item that can be picked up, and it must be brought to the other quadrant and jump in a portal to gain a point. Okay, so it's kind of like a capture the flag, but the place you're capturing it to is the portal, and that's why it's kind of like Bridges, because of the portals and the jumping and getting points. The first team to 3 points wins the event. Obviously, when you're holding the flag or the item, you'll have some restrictions like no purling, you'll have slowness 2, all that sort of stuff. So your team needs to defend you and get to the other side. Obviously, if you didn't know, on Minecadia, when an event starts, nobody in the war zone can fly. So it actually will support this competitive play. The next one is kind of similar to Secure the Payload, but in a like pirate kind of theme. So we're actually gonna have a ship spawn in right here, and you're gonna have to get in the boat. One player in your faction has to get in the boat to keep moving in an automated path that kind of circles around the war zone, and once you reach the end, then you win. It pretty much just goes in a small circle around here. But this is gonna make for some interesting gameplay because it is actual water. We have OP sets like Leviathan that does well in water. We've got Kraken pets, all that sort of stuff. So will be pretty interesting, probably a gank fest, and since you actually have to get in the boat in the middle of the river, it's going to be quite interesting. But yeah, that's a new event, will be placed in the event schedule as well, alongside the Capture the Flag sort of event. Next thing is Voyage, Wars, and Battles. I know we've announced this like 4 times. It's actually going to be in this map, like it's actually done now. So Voyage Battles is pretty much like teams going head to head in Voyage room gameplay and stuff like that. You pretty much make like a party, 5-player minimum, up to 8 players. You enter a queue, and then you get placed against another team, and then pretty much you can wager items mutually, or either way the winning team will get like a loot bag. But yeah, pretty much 2 teams compete against each other in Voyage styled rooms. I believe there's like a bunch of rooms that like they actually spawn in the same room together, and it's like the first one to complete it. I'm not too sure on the specifics of the rooms, but it is a very, very cool concept. So that's Voyage Battles. And similarly, Voyage Wars is like the same thing, but with much more teams, like 3 to 5 teams. Same thing with like new rooms that have just way bigger stakes, and you got to win. You get points for being first place all the way up to 5th place. Obviously, if you're in last place, you get 0 points. 4th is 1 point. 3rd place is 3 points. 2nd place is 5 points, and 1st place is 10 points. And it looks like the war will consist of 10 rooms / competitions within the point system. So there will be plenty of room to win, plenty of room for your enemies to win, but it's a really cool concept. Voyage Wars and Voyage Battles will be coming this map. And Citadel and Conquest have been revamped, so we did replace the end with a little bit more of an HCF style build, because we're also going to be introducing mobs that are kind of like the HCF style, because you know you go to end to get pearls on HCF, but on here you're going to go to end to actually fight mobs, probably like Enderman, as well as silverfish and stuff like that will drop custom rewards like nether stars, which, as you guys know, if we go to the nether stars, you could sell these for pretty expensive. So the way the end's going to work is it's going to be pretty much a money making method, unlike expeditions, because it's just regular mobs that can easily be killed, whereas expeditions you actually have to try a little bit. There's a small safe zone upon warping, kind of like an HCF end, or some of them at least, and then there's only 1 exit portal, which you can only go through if you're not combat tagged, and once you're not combat tagged, you can return instantly back to spawn. The reason that you're returning instantly back to spawn is because there are some restrictions in this realm. So for grace period, there's only going to be vanilla enchants, Armor set abilities and effects are completely disabled. You're only allowed 2 pets. There are no star items and no balloons, all during grace period. So literally anyone can just get a trash set compared to the rest of the server and go to end and be competitive in the sense that like other players won't really have a better set than you. After grace period though, custom enchants enable, armor sets enable, all pets enable, star items enable, balloons enable, all that sort of stuff. So obviously it does change the dynamic quite a bit, but we did this because also end Citadel and end Conquest obviously is in the end. So the first one will be a vanilla enchants only with 2 pets, which will be pretty interesting, especially since it's like really early after the start of the world. So that is that. The loot bags for Citadel and Conquest have been buffed. The end Envoy has been buffed, and we're also introducing region bans while the end Citadel and Conquest are active. So if you die in the end, you can't return for like 5 minutes. Shiny pets, the concept where you can have a pet higher than level 100 has been introduced to Minecadia, but very slowly. We only have about 5 right now, 1 from each tier. So there'll be the shield pet, iron golem pet, creeper pet, snow golem pet, and the wizard pet will all have some shiny tiers. In addition to that, we'll introduce the shiny scroll, which is a scroll that can be used on a pet to convert it to shiny, and then also pet stake, which is similar to pet candy but works on shiny pets after level 100. We have a ton of expedition changes. We introduced a new concept called expeditions claim. So instead of killing a mob and all the like loot going in your inventory getting filled up super quick, it'll now go into a separate virtual UI that kind of stacks items in it, known as the expeditions claim. So it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to like grind without having to worry about your inventory getting full. Same with XP and money. XP will actually automatically apply to your XP balance, and money will automatically apply to your money balance whenever you get it as a reward. We've introduced expedition keys, which is a new crate key that can only be acquired at expeditions. We'll have XP boosters for expeditions as well. There's some miscellaneous changes like Island 2 spiders no longer spawn webs, Island 4 spiders no longer spawn webs. There's just some changes to the mobs, make it a little bit easier. We changed up the skill tree a little bit. Expeditions Ronnie has been changed a little bit to, you know, some more quality of life updates. All this stuff is in the forums post down below, by the way, if you want to read the specifics, because I'm kind of trying to cover this as fast as possible. We have added sandbots to the server, but again, this is a little bit limited because it's actually limited to only be used against the top 5 factions of points and values, because we don't want to compromise the casual integrity of the gameplay, but we do want it to be utilized in competitive gameplay because a lot of those factions have been requesting it. Again, my whole reasoning, or our whole reasoning, is on the forums post if you want to read it, but pretty much sandbots work as long as you're only rating a top 5 faction of both leaderboards. Then there's a bunch of miscellaneous changes, such as some new faction point triggers that are utilized. We actually may be taking faction points if you get banned during a screen share. Arcade has come back to 100% holy white scroll negation. The fund has been changed up a bunch. We vaulted Rotten Decay, vaulted Halloweenify, vaulted some pets like the Valentine's pet, unvaulted Shield, unvaulted Leprechaun, nerfed the Hellhound pet, reduced the Hellhound pet cooldown, vaulted the Carver mask, introduced a new Chef mask which makes you immune to the Thanksgiving pet and also deal 10% more damage while utilizing the Chef enchant. Some star items have been vaulted, such as the Nitro, the Hybrid Shard, obviously because the crews are different now. The Chroma has been completely reworked. You can no longer pierce through Spectral, but you can now have a 25% to negate pet collars. The Leviathan admin item has been vaulted. The Totsuka Blade has been vaulted. The Dimensional Rift ability for Wraith has been nerfed to a shorter duration. The Diablo Soul Devourer ability has been buffed. The rewards and percentages have been buffed for the Cerebrus boss. And then Kraken Plus was slightly buffed. Envoys have been buffed. Bosses now have a 15-minute despawn timer and are immune to fire damage. Events have been rebranded to mini games, and then miscellaneous bugs have been fixed. So that's like the entire changelog that we have for the Minecadia update, which I hope you guys have a spot that you're looking forward to. Let me know down below in the comments if you like it or not. I hope to see you guys online for the release. I'm not going to be explaining what Minecadia is because I do that every single time. I just wanted to go over the update because it's quite a large one. We have a lot of new stuff coming this map, so hopefully you guys are ready. I will see you guys online tomorrow at 5 p.m. EST. Going to be recording, of course. Maybe I'll probably join a faction again because I do want to get involved in a little bit of some other content, and especially during the Start of the World chapters. That should be pretty cool. But yeah, leave a like down below. I'll see you guys on tomorrow. Peace out.